You're watching After the Bell here on CNBC TV 18. Now, this is one of the rare initiatives that were launched by the UPA government that the Modi government has adopted with full fervor, and in fact is going ahead and making the unique identification number a key tool for the direct subsidy transfer mechanism. CNBC TV 18 learns the government is all set to introduce the Aadhaar bill as a money bill. This in order to give the platform a statutory backing, a move that will expand its range of utility in providing government benefits. In fact, this is being seen as crucial to the government's initiatives of directly transferring cash for subsidies, be it for kerosene, be it for LPG, be it for food. One of the biggest problems has been on how to identify those that need that subsidy and plug the subsidy leakages. Let's discuss this more. We're now joined by Senior Advocate Harish Salve on the phone line. Thanks, Mr. Salve, for joining us on CNBC TV 18. This is Nayanthara. So we exclusively understand from our sources that the Aadhaar bill is all set to be tabled in Parliament, rather Lok Sabha, as a money bill. My first question is this: Aadhaar bill, can it be defined as a money bill, or is this just a way of bypassing the Rajya Sabha where the government doesn't have the numbers?
First of all, we haven't seen the details of what exactly is being done. We'll see when the bill is introduced. But we have to remind ourselves that under Article 110, this is a comprehensive law for the Aadhaar, which includes sanctioning expenditure for the Aadhaar. This makes it obligatory on the government to provide the Aadhaar card, which will necessarily involve appropriations from the Consolidated Fund of India. Then it falls squarely in the definition of a money bill under Article 110.
Okay, so you think it can be a classic money bill. Mr. Salve, my next question to you is, this is an issue that is also being heard by the Supreme Court about how services cannot be made, essential services cannot be linked to Aadhaar, that it cannot be made mandatory. So how can the government go ahead and table it as any kind of bill while the Supreme Court still has to come out with its verdict and final conclusions?
On the contrary, one of the two arguments which has been addressed in the court is that you cannot have an executive measure such as the Aadhaar card and then say that this will be mandatory for provision of services. That objection is being addressed by giving it statutory backing. That this will be, if it gets carried in both the houses, then it will become a law made by Parliament. So one of the two objections is addressed. The second objection, that this Aadhaar scheme violates the right to privacy per se, that issue will still remain, and I assume the court will decide that.
Let's also bring in Rajya Sabha MP Rajiv Chandrasekhar into this debate. Hi, Mr. Chandrasekhar, this is Nayanthara. I want to begin where Mr. Salve left off, that right now you're still hearing the Supreme Court address these issues about whether it can have statutory backing or not, and second, the right to privacy. So given all of this, do you think the time is right for the government to table Aadhaar bill as a money bill?
No, I think, you see, one of the biggest issues with Aadhaar has been, apart from the fact that it's been very poorly architected as a technology platform, it is also, one of the issues has been that it's never been debated, discussed, and did not have the strategy.
Okay, I think we lost our connection with Mr. Chandrasekhar. So, Mr. Salve, Mr. Chandrasekhar was just saying he thinks it's been one of the more poorly drafted bills that they have seen in a while. I know you have very strong views as far as its right to privacy goes. So do you think this is a step in the right direction, that in the interest of plugging leakages when it comes to subsidies, this is the only way to go, the Aadhaar bill?
Well, what Mr. Chandrasekhar was saying is an extremely important consideration. And, I'm a little surprised at this discussion in the media about the government is sidestepping Rajya Sabha by bringing things as a money bill. I don't think so. Our constitution gives primacy in relation to money bills to the elected representatives of the people. And the Rajya Sabha has a role to play, but it cannot shoot down money bills. So wherever there is an expenditure involved from the Consolidated Fund of India, that's the wish of the definition. And I think every government is perfectly within its rights, of not only within its rights, it's under a constitutional obligation to bring it to the money bill. But yes, the point that Mr. Chandrasekhar was making is extremely important. One of the criticisms of the Aadhaar scheme has been that this has never been discussed by Parliament and it's passed by way of law. Now, that may technically may or may not be necessary, but it adds a lot more credibility to the measure.
Where do you stand as far as this goes? We have seen the Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi argue in Supreme Court that for the sake of the welfare of the poor people, it is okay for the citizens of India to give up their right to privacy.
Well, let me tell you, I have also appeared for the states. In fact, the union government took the position that there is no right to privacy under the Constitution, or they cited an earlier case and said resolved. That's why the case is taking time. But it has been my understanding of the law, and of course the Supreme Court will decide this. My understanding of the law is that there is no such absolute right to privacy which is forcibly taken away by the Aadhaar card. You cannot say, I want the right to drive a car, but I will not give you my name for a driving license. You cannot say, I want a passport, but don't ask me my name. Equally, you cannot say, where in larger public interest and public good, to prevent leakage of subsidies, the government says, if you want a subsidy, give me your name. And you say, I want a subsidy, but don't ask me for my name. Now, that is not at least my extremely limited understanding of the Constitution. There is no such right to privacy.
Hi again, Mr. Salve. We're back with Rajiv Chandrasekhar. We hope to have on a good line, and there's one that's not going to drop. Mr. Chandrasekhar, you were talking about how you think this is one of being the most poorly drafted legislations. Mr. Salve was just saying that, he agrees with the government that there is no invasion of privacy when it comes to Aadhaar, that you cannot say that, oh, I want to drive a car, but I will not share my license details or provide information for it, that I want subsidy, but I will not provide you details for this. So, I know you, where do you stand this? Is this, all those people who are opposing it, is it coming from a level of paranoia?
No. I think we must understand what the government has said yesterday is very different from what Aadhaar was being positioned and pushed all these years. And in effect, that was what I was opposing. What the government has said is very clear, that Aadhaar will not be used for purposes of citizenship identification or domicile. It will be used primarily and only as a way of getting benefits from the government. And if the government finds and re-architects Aadhaar to be simply a way to get those who deserve, who are entitled to benefits, getting those benefits and identifying them, then
I think we've again lost the line with Rajiv Chandrasekhar. We do live in an era of cold draws. So what he was perhaps pointing out is that in the union budget, we have seen a departure where it is not going to be about identification when it comes to Aadhaar, but rather it's going to be about directly transferring benefits, and we mean subsidies, directly to the bank accounts of the needy and those that deserve to have subsidies. So I think the point that Mr. Chandrasekhar was alluding to was there seems to be a departure in the government stance. We had Mr. Harish Salve earlier on the show saying that perhaps it's being a little paranoid, saying it's invasion of privacy. So it's going to be interesting to see how that Aadhaar bill has indeed been drafted. As of now, it is perhaps going to be tabled in the Lok Sabha as a money bill, and therefore it won't have to go to the Rajya Sabha. But do remember, we had seen a similar story play out when it came to the bankruptcy code. It was tabled in Lok Sabha as a money bill, and now it has gone for discussion. So it's going to be interesting to see the fate of the Aadhaar bill.